Also, a cargo of crude oil from the US Strategic Petroleum Reserve is heading to the Philippines. According to ship tracking data, this is the first shipment of US emergency reserve oil to Asia since November 2022. The Greek-flagged crude carrier loaded 616,000 barrels of sour crude from Texas in early May and is set to arrive in Bataan, Philippines in early July. The vessel, chartered by Shell, is co-loaded with around 700,000 barrels of US sour-grade Thunder Horse. The Philippines has been diversifying its energy sources amid a shortage of West Asian barrels, with the government eyeing producers in the US, Canada, Colombia and Argentina, as well as US waivers on Russian seaborne oil. Asia receives about 80% of its oil through the Strait of Hormuz, a critical choke point that has remained largely closed during the 3-month-old Iran war. And for more, we have Akshay Dongre joining us on this. Well, Akshay, with Israel expanding its operations north of the Litani River and the Hezbollah responding with rockets and drones, how significant is this shift militarily and politically for the broader Lebanon conflict?
Well, not just Lebanon conflict, Lipakshi, the conflict overall is going to get really badly impacted with this expansion of the strike. Now, what has happened is that there was a ceasefire that was agreed to upon by both the sides, Lebanon and Israel, on April 16th. And it's just been about a month and then just some over that, the ceasefire, agreements and everything that was agreed upon is being violated as far as the security zone is concerned. So Israel had set a boundary earlier to ensure that the operation remains within limits of that of that boundary that was set up as far as their operation against Hezbollah are concerned. Now, but crossing off this boundary means that Israel is going to go against its word, and that is not just going to impact its ceasefire with Lebanon, but also the overall ceasefire and overall peace deals that are taking place in the region, even with Iran. So now you have to understand that Iran has earlier as well had called for, Lebanon and the peace deal in Lebanon to be part of the entire larger any kind of a deal with Israel, but any kind of violation in the earlier agreements that have been agreed upon by both Iran and Israel will also get questioned by the Iranian government as far as the claims by Israel were concerned, and how they are being backtracked. Especially all of this happening at a point in time when US is aggressively looking for a peace deal, US is aggressively looking for a ceasefire, and a possibility of a ceasefire with Iran and a peace deal with Iran is very close right now, even as the Trump administration is talking about that. So the timing is also a big question, that why is Israel doing this operation at this point in time?
Right.
When we already are closing in on a ceasefire. That remains to be seen, and we'll have to wait and watch how the US leadership responds to the Israeli expansion of military operation, especially in such a sensitive area which has already been a bone of content as far as the larger ceasefire is concerned.
Absolutely. US leadership's response is very important, Akshay. In fact, Trump is to hold the cabinet meeting at the White House to discuss plans ahead today.
Well, yes, and we'll have to see that whether there's some response comes out of it, because usually it has been turned into a blind eye as far as most of the Israeli operations are concerned, especially against Lebanon.
Yes.
Because the most of the focus has been on Iran. However, Lebanon is very, very closely linked with the entire conflict, and the question in Iran will be raised that if Israel can actually go back on its word in Lebanon, it can go back on its word on Iran as well in the near future. And if there is total impunity to what Israel is doing, then there is hardly any meaning for any kind of conversations or agreements or ceasefires as long as they are not being agreed to. That remains one of the biggest concern for the entire peace process.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Akshay, for all that information.